Okay, so my friends and I used to have this drinking game. You had to take a shot if you had the best story about a parent that made you the craziest. I don't want to brag, but I was the drunkest kid in my neighborhood. All a tip of the hat to Greta and Arnold Handelman of Yellowstone Boulevard in Forest Hills, my home place, where I was raised with my sister in the tiniest little shtetl apartment you can imagine. It was below ground level. I don't know if you've ever seen those apartments, but our bedroom faced Yellowstone Boulevard, so we just saw ankles passing by, like old Laverne and Shirley episodes. And and it was so cluttered. Every room was so chock-a-block of stuff that nobody needed or wanted because my mother decided that she'd go antiquing every weekend. This was a thing. She had no money, she had no taste, but she wanted to go and buy shit for the house. So what she would do is she would drag us along, and we would go. It wasn't like real antique stores. It was more like Sanford and Son, like you'd shop somebody's lawn, like a tag sale. She'd buy the ugliest thing you can imagine, and she'd say, "It's not a problem. I'm going to antique it." Do you know what that is? Okay, if you're over 50, there was a product that we had called Antique It, and it was like before shabby chic. You buy a tub of a liquid, and it came with a brush, and you take a perfectly nice piece of pine or oak, and then you slather it to make it look old. Does anybody remember? Okay. It was the most hideous thing. So she would take an okay piece of furniture and make it look like a 5-year-old with serious ADD just go crazy on the furniture. Okay, now in addition to that, there was no room for any of this stuff. And all of the sofas and chairs were covered in slipcovers. Why? I don't know. It was so ugly. Who was going to stain this shit? But she also collected Hummels. Do you know what a Hummel is? Okay, Mr. Malaga, my piano teacher, who came once a week, had to deal with me sitting at a piano with a host of small, stout German boys in lederhosen with balloons staring at me like a Hitler youth organization. They're just balloons while I'm trying to learn the scales, and I'm being stared down by little German men in there. I don't know why she collected anything, but that wasn't half of the issue with my crazy family. Okay, first of all, living in this ground floor apartment, we had a furnace pipe in the front hall that was heating the entire line of the building, 7 floors, into our apartment. It was like the Titanic when those men are digging the coal, It was so blazing hot all the time. So my mother's sartorial choice for this was to not wear clothes. A buxom babe, a big woman, beautiful, big. How my father would term, she was built like a brick shithouse. Now, I think he meant brick house, but he called her a brick shithouse, and she thought this was a compliment, so. Okay, so she wore a brassiere, not a bra, it's a brassiere, it's a corset, and it has a lot of bones and wires and about 100 eyes and hooks. I don't know how she got into it. I used to always think of like Gone with the Wind when Scarlett's like, and then her big lady underpants. She was a big woman, beautiful, big, like double D torpedo big, sweating, mustache, sweating all the time. And my father, Arnold, who I don't think showered as often as probably should, he would come to breakfast in a white t-shirt and boxers that always had an indeterminate amount of stains of food from God knows when. I don't know. This breakfast, he sits down like this, and my sister and I would be sitting there thinking, this is what dreams are made of. This is what... I kept thinking, how are these my parents? Why? How? I just didn't understand what was happening. And they were always yelling at each other, yelling and screaming. And my mother, who hated to cook, so much so that she had one cookbook. And if anyone is old enough to remember, I'm not making this up, her cookbook that she bought was called the I Hate to Cook Cookbook by a woman named Peg Bracken, who was like the Irma Bombeck of cookbooks. And every recipe involved Campbell's soup, which, I mean, if I think about it now, the sodium content, I should have had cankles when I was like 8 years old. I mean, this is, all right, so it was pork chops in cream and mushroom soup, my personal favorite. And then my mother's favorite was meatloaf in vegetable soup that had alphabet letters in it. So we would eat these meals. Now, my mother was always yelling at Arnold, my father, because she kept saying he was an abject failure. But while she's eating, because we're Jews, we're like 60s Jews, there's no table manners, okay? First of all, they're half naked. And that, so paper towel, napkins, cream soda on the table. Everybody's yelling and food's flying. Mouths are always open. Lots of round, muddle the tailor shoulders. We're a mess. And my mother, because she's so big, she has the alphabet, like on her continental shelf. So my sister and I used to beg, can we just please eat in our room on snack tables? And my mother was fine about that because she had so many bones to pick with my dad. She just wanted to. Now, the reason she couldn't stand my dad was because he couldn't keep a job. The poor guy tried, but he just had no qualifications. The only job he held for more than 5 years was at the Creston Crayon Factory. Now, you might ask, oh, that sounds exciting. You were a child growing up with crayons. It was imitation Crayola. So we're talking about crayons that drew like Hanukkah candles. There was no color, just wax. It was just like, please, sir, could I have a real crayon, sir? So anyway, my parents were always yelling at each other, and my mother would conspiratorially whisper me when I was 8 years old, and she'd say, I'm leaving your father. Now, when you're 8 years old, and you think literally, I had this vision of my mother leaving my father in the parking lot at Roosevelt Field, just leaving him there, not picking him up, if I got lost. That's what I didn't understand, leaving. But I knew enough to think, well, I shouldn't get close to this guy because he's going to be leaving soon. And okay, not to give you a spoiler alert here, they were married for 50 fucking years, okay? And for 50 years, she kept telling me, I'm leaving your father. I was like, leave him already. When are you leaving him? Okay, now the other thing about my mom is she was very frustrated because she wanted to have a life outside of her family. And they were always broke, and nothing was ever going her way. But she wanted to be a singer. She thought she was like a chanteuse when she was young. And she said she used to gig at bar mitzvahs and weddings before she met my dad. And she told my sister and I that if she hadn't married Arnold, my father, she would probably have a career. If she didn't have children, her life could have been really exciting and different. And I said, okay, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know how you respond to this information when you're a little kid. All right, so my sister and I, we would lock ourselves in our room because we just couldn't deal with the chaos and the sweat and the boobs and everything in the other room. We would lock ourselves in our room and we would watch all that great variety television at night, like The Smothers Brothers and Ed Sullivan. And because they'd have singers on these shows like Edie Gourmet and Steve Lawrence and Engelbert Humperdinck, my mom, it was like a dog whistle. She'd hear it. While she's yelling at my father, she would hear somebody singing Judy Garland in my room. She'd come flying in, and she would just be transported. She'd close her eyes, and she'd just sing along. And my sister and I didn't know what to make of it, because, first of all, you're embarrassed when your mother or your father does anything that appears like anything. You just want them to go away. But she's busy, and she was, warbling like in a Marx Brothers movie. I don't know what was happening. But it was really embarrassing. Not so much in the house, but we would be on an elevator at Macy's, and she'd hear something, like Tom Jones, it's not unusual, and she'd start singing. And the worst was we were once in the Associated Grocery Store on Queens Boulevard, and all of a sudden her favorite singer, Peggy Lee, is on, and my mother is transported to another world, and she starts singing, is that all there is, my friend? And loud. She's singing loud while we're standing there oh, help, somebody just help. Okay, so somehow, I don't know how, I grew out of all this, and my parents just kind of, subsisted with the singing and the fighting and the food throwing and years went by, and finally my parents retired. My father didn't have a job. I don't know what he was retiring from. He actually had a job once as a cab driver, and he couldn't keep the job because he lost his driver's license. Not like lost his wallet, like his license was taken away. He couldn't even do that. So, but my mother worked in Bloomingdale's selling baby clothes. I mean, she was like a real starker, we would say. She was like an amazing person. So, okay, they decided to retire, and they moved where all the Jews, Rona, down to Florida. So they moved to Sunrise, to phase 2 of the Sunrise Lakes condominiums. Very excited. And I was happy for them because I knew the change would be good. There was air conditioning down there, which they never used, by the way, but they had it. And my mother called me one day. She said, Sandy, I'm so excited. I've joined the Sunrise Lakes Serenaders. I'm going to be their soloist. I'm the lead singer, and we're going to go gigging in all the nursing homes all over South Florida. And I'm thinking, holy shit. Okay, now I know 99% of these people are deaf. And they are mostly 99, so it's probably okay. But the whole thing was like mystifying because I didn't really, because when I was a kid, I was such a little dick. I didn't really think she could really sing or anything. I mean, when you're a kid, you're so selfish. You don't really think about your mother's hopes and dreams and aspirations. You're just thinking about, like, what have you done for me today besides not put on a blouse? You're just not thinking. So I thought, oh, this is really exciting. And she told me that her go-to big finish was Wind Beneath My Wings. Now, you guys know this song. This is a big song. I mean, Bette Midler knocks it out of the park. I don't know about Greta, if she's going to be able to manage this, but she had a Mr. Microphone at home, and my father would sit there adoringly watching his wife sing this song while she practiced, and she was really excited about it. She said she's killing it, and I thought, Mom, be careful what you say. I mean, it's not something you want to bring up at the nursing home. So, all right, so one day she calls, and she says, okay, your dad's turning 70. I'm throwing him a surprise birthday party. You're coming down to Florida. You're bringing the kids. I have 3 kids. At the time, they were all under 8 years old. You're bringing them all down for Dad's party, and I'm going to surprise him and sing my big number at the party. And I'm like terrified about the whole ordeal. I'm thinking, okay, this is great. So we all fly down there. I give the kids a lecture. I say, okay, no matter what, Grandma is fantastic. She's beautiful, she's talented, you love her, you're going to applaud, you're not going to laugh, no giggling, no talking, it's going to be great. And they're all like, well, yeah, what's the issue? Okay, Mom, sure. They don't realize the backstory. So we get down there, and we go for this fancy surprise dinner. Rona, it's at 4 o'clock. So it's in a strip mall. It's in a strip mall, and it's like on the left is a kidney dialysis center, and on the right is like a little manicure shop. And then there's a neon sign that says like cocktails and chops, It's a super classy restaurant. And inside, all of her friends and our relatives, whoever lives down in Florida, it's packed. And I'm so excited for her, but I'm also really nervous because I'm thinking, oh shit, she's going to sing not for old deaf people. She's going to sing for our family. Some of them are deaf, but some of them aren't. Could be a problem. So everyone's having fun. My dad was really surprised. The party's great. And then all of a sudden, right before dessert, my mother looks like she's going to have a stroke. She's so nervous. Her eyes get really big. And she comes running up to me. She goes, I can't do it. I said, yes, you can. She goes, no, I left Mr. Microphone at home. I can't do it. I said, Mom, do you want me to go home? I'll go get it. No time. So God bless this woman. She's amazing. This is so amazing. She takes a wine goblet, empty wine goblet, off of a table. It's like Waterford Crystal. And she decides, this is going to be my microphone. She commits to this bit. She picks it up, and her accompaniment is there, and he starts playing his Casio, and she starts to sing into a wine glass. She's so committed to this that she's moving it for feedback. It's a wine glass. I thought she was going to move her mic, the thing around but here's the incredible thing. She starts to sing. It's gorgeous. She's really good. She plants herself. She's so present. She's like Ethel Merman. She's just out there. And she sings gorgeously. She's fantastic. And everyone there is just so excited for her. And all I could think about is, I am the biggest asshole. I never gave her the credit to allow her to be her true self. I just dismissed it. I never thought about it. I never honored it. I never treated it as it was something that important to her. Maybe because I was upset that she thought I was disappointing her because she couldn't do what she wanted to do. But here she is at 69 years old. She's finally doing it. And it made me think about my life and all the things that I wanted to do. And what am I waiting for? What excuse do I have? Do I have to live in phase 2 to do stuff? I don't know. Like, it was really a remarkable moment. And it was truly my mother and father's greatest day. You could just see the celebration that day. It was celebrating her, celebrating him, all their friends. She had felt so triumphant that through all of her life's misery, she had a lot of horrible things happen. She made it to do this. And it was beautiful, and unfortunately, a year later, she died very suddenly of a diabetic stroke because there wasn't a cheesecake this woman did not love. She just couldn't stop herself, and my dad, major enabler, because he just loved her so much, he didn't realize it was not the right thing to do, so she would adjust her insulin, and she screwed up, and it was really sad. She was only 71 or 7. She was too young, and she was just finding her voice, literally her finding her voice. So my dad flies up to New York with my mom, JetBlue underneath, obviously, brings her up. And we have to plan a funeral, and we're not members of a congregation, so I have to rent a rabbi, and I have to rent a room, and I'm figuring, all right, well, I'll give the eulogy, because nobody knows this great dame. No one knows this woman. So I rent a rabbi, I do all this, and we get everybody in the room, and I decide what would be really cool during the service. After I tell everybody about this amazing, brave, beautiful woman who loved her children so fiercely, had so much heartbreak, so much disappointment, but through it all, she persevered. She managed to live a life that was honest to what she wanted to do. And she was just such an incredible role model for me that I never realized until it was too late. And then the coup de grace, the best part. I had an old style CD player, portable player, that I'd put on the stage, and I queued up Bette Midler's greatest hits, because I didn't have a recording of my mother, and I'm playing Wind Beneath My Wings, washing over the congregation, not a dry eye. I'm thinking, you nailed this, you did this for her, it was perfect, except while I'm doing that, all of a sudden I realized, oh shit, there's no edit on it, because it's not just that song, so if I don't time this right, the next song is going to come up. It's a problem. So I'm sitting in the first row, and I've got my finger out, ready to hit stop, okay? And I'm ready, except I missed the cue. So all of a sudden, what washes over this crying audience is the boogie bugle boy of Hercules, a do, H in the bar, and everyone starts laughing, and I'm thinking, oh, this is such a good thing. This is exactly what she would have wanted. My favorite brick shit house got exactly what she wanted, and we are all here for it. Thank you.